All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you happen to join in later in on this webinar, please make sure you turn off your camera and mute your mic. This webinar is being recorded for future viewing, and so if you could just mute your mic and turn off your camera. If you do join in, please, with any questions, please just use the raising hand option and I will get to you as soon as possible. So this week's topic is going to be the role of body positivity in fitness and recreation. So this is a little bit of a sensitive topic. So if anyone has any concerns or feels like it might be triggering in some way, feel free to join in or leave as you so choose, or raise your hand if you need anything addressed. I'll be speaking from my personal experience, my work as a health coach, and my work as both a facilitator and a supervisor for the Body Project. So, the role of body positivity in fitness and recreation. Before we begin, my name is Rachel Mangold. I'm a current graduate assistant for the Wellbeing and Fitness Department through University Division of Student Affairs. I am a certified personal trainer and health coach, and I have my bachelor's in psychology, and I'm currently getting my master's in coaching education. I'll give my information at the end of this webinar. So if you have any questions or you'd like to talk to me personally, please feel free to reach out to me. So, what is the body positivity movement? So this is a worldwide social movement aimed at empowering people of all bodies, regardless of size, ability, race, gender, or appearance. So if you haven't heard of it before, it's been gaining a lot of traction over the past few years. I know it was really big when I was in undergrad, and it's continued to flourish and take different routes throughout the past few years. But it was started a long time ago. Body positivity and body acceptance and inclusion has been a social issue for decades now. So it aims to challenge the traditional socially constructed ideas of what is and is not beautiful, attractive, desirable, or even healthy. So a lot of times, whether that's on social media, mass media, advertising, fashion, magazines, things like that, we're presented with an idea or of what is desirable, what is beautiful, what should we, be attaining for ourselves to look like. And a lot of times people think that the body positivity movement is only for women, and that's not true. It's for men, it's for women, it's for non-binary individuals. And so I think it's really important to note that these ideas of what is desirable affects people across genders, across populations, and so it's not just construed just for female identifying individuals. So I think that's really important to note. But we're constantly bombarded with these ideas of, what we should look like, whether that's, our body shape, whether that's our body hair, whether that's our complexion, how much makeup we wear, what kinds of clothes we wear, what kind of jewelry we wear. All of these things are kind of thrown at us all through media, even through peers, friends, families, these ideas of how we should and how we should look, and so this can be really challenging, and it's a lot of negativity that is thrown our way. So there's a lot of organizations and campaigns across the United States that are dedicated to supporting the body positivity movement and its values. So you may have heard of the Dove Self-Esteem Project, the Body Positive, the Body Project, which we'll talk about here in a second, and the Airy Real campaign, which is one of my just personal favorites. So while the body positivity movement is great, there are some limitations to it. So there's been a lot of pushback to the body positivity movement, both within and outside of the movement. So we'll talk about both here. So let's start with some internal pushback. So recently, in the past few years, there's been a push to change the language from body positivity to body inclusion. So when we talk about body positivity, there's this sense that We have to be happy with ourselves all the time, every day, no matter what we look like. We have to be super resilient and fight back against these negative social media portrayals of what is beautiful. And we just have to be happy with ourselves. We just have to be happy no matter what. If we want to work on ourselves, that means that we're not happy with ourselves. If we want to change something about ourselves, that means we don't love ourselves. And that's not really true. It's unrealistic and actually harmful to think that you must feel positive about yourself all the time. That in and of itself is a lot of pressure to put on yourself. So you can lose weight and still love both the before and the after picture. So I think a lot of times we see, before and after these big transformations, and it's like, oh, I'm so glad of the person that I am now. But that doesn't mean that that individual or even yourself wasn't happy with the person that they were in the before side of the picture. Sorry, I have a lot of typos on this one today. And so this notion that we have to be positive about ourselves all the time is really, really harmful to our psyche. So another kind of internal pushback is that there are a lot of brands and corporations that are using the body positivity movement as a smokescreen while still excluding people of color, excluding trans individuals, men, and those with disabilities. So when we talk about body positivity or body inclusion, it's not just about body size, right? It's not just about being, a size 0 versus a size 4 versus a size 12 versus a size 28. All of these things, it's not just about size and it's not just about shape, right? It's about the color of our skin. It's about our gender identity. It's about our sexual identity. It's about our ability, whether we're able-bodied or whether we're not, mentally or physically. And so a lot of brands and corporations are kind of using the body positivity movement to, increase revenue, really focusing on those capitalistic principles. And so there's a lot of internal pushback because of this, because the body positivity movement has started to become something that businesses are using for their own profit and their own gain. And then in terms of external pushback, opponents of the body positivity movement, claim that being positive about yourself despite being clinically overweight or obese is damaging for your health and that it deters people from focusing on their well-being. So essentially what they're saying is that if we tell people that they can love themselves even if they are quote unquote overweight, that's gonna keep them from focusing on their health. That's gonna keep them from working out. That's gonna keep them from, from doing what society deems is healthy to focus on yourself. However, that's not true. Quite the opposite. If we are more positive about ourselves, we're more confident, we have greater self-esteem, that may mean that we feel more comfortable going into a gym space, or we feel more comfortable going to the doctor to get a physical, or to take a walk outside, or to focus on our mental well-being. And so research has actually shown that regularly working out has shown to have a great correlation with lifespan and other health factors, a greater correlation than clinical obesity does. So essentially what this is saying is that they had these individuals and people who were clinically overweight or obese who regularly engaged in aerobic activity actually had better health markers and lower chances of cardiovascular disease and a lower mortality rate than similar individuals who had similar demographics to them, except they were thinner, quote unquote, more normal weight, but they didn't work out. So physical activity is actually a better indicator of health than weight is. And then another sense of external pushback is fat shaming versus skinny shaming. So shaming can occur on both sides of the coin, right? You can be shamed for being too large, being too much, or you can be shamed for being too skinny, or for being not enough. And there's a lot of pushback really on both sides for this, because while both are issues and both do occur, what we do have to focus on is how fat shaming versus skinny shaming really comes into play in terms of power dynamics. And so while skinny shaming is very real and wrong and needs to be addressed as well, fat shaming is more likely to keep people from adequate healthcare. It's more likely to keep people from doing their jobs, from being able to get jobs, from being hired. And so both are very real issues, but it is important to note that fat shaming has more secondary and primary consequences than skinny shaming often does. And that is not to downplay skinny shaming in any way. It's just to address that there is a difference. So then where does body positivity and body inclusion fit within the fitness and recreation space, right? How can we be positive and be inclusive within wellness, within fitness, and within recreation? So the simplest thing is that body positivity and fitness don't have to conflict. They're not conflicting principles. Working out and taking care of your physical well-being is not equivalent to not being happy with yourself and your skin. And there's this really great quote I found from Virginia Smith, and I have linked the article. It's a personal article that she wrote about her experience with body positivity as it relates to fitness. And she says, there's an inherent paradox in wanting to still push yourself, still focus on improvement and change while trying to accept your flaws as they are now. My only issue with this quote is her use of the word flaw. You know, inherently as people, we are flawed. We do have imperfections. And, you know, there are things that we can want to work on for ourselves. I don't necessarily like the language of the word flaw, but I still think regardless, it is a great quote. And so essentially what this is saying is that, you know, this idea that if we're trying to work on ourselves, if we do want to lose weight, or if we do want to, you know, push more weight in the gym, or decrease our mile time, or, you know, even get plastic surgery, or, you know, dye our hair or go tanning, or things that doing those things and pushing ourselves and focusing on improvement and change, that means that we can't accept who we are now and that we don't love ourselves again in that before sense. And that's not true at all, right? You can want to work out and still love yourself. And just speaking from personal experience, this is something that I've struggled with a lot because I'm a huge advocate of body positivity and body inclusion. But then, you know, I still regularly work out and I have fitness goals that are related to my aesthetic, that are related to my body and my appearance. And sometimes for me, that feels like I'm hypocritical or I'm not a true advocate for the movement. And some people, some kind of influential celebrities who have kind of pushed for this movement have received a lot of backlash when they do lose weight or when their body does change. And then, you know, there's some pushback like, well, you're not a real proponent of the movement. When that's not true, right? It's two sides of the same coin. It's all involved together. So it's a hard thing to kind of conceptualize that, you know, we can love ourselves at all stages and all changes. But it is really important to note that body positivity and fitness, again, they don't have to conflict, right? All right, so let's talk about some opportunities to engage with body positivity on campus. So the first one is going to be the Body Project. So this is one that I work with as a supervisor. The Body Project is a group-based prevention program designed to increase body acceptance and decrease risk factors for the development of eating disorders. The program is evidence-based and has been found to decrease belief in the appearance ideal, decrease risk factors for eating disorders, and decrease risk for future eating disorders. I've been involved with the Body Project for a little over 3 years now. I started at Ohio State as a facilitator, and now I am grateful to be a supervisor here at Ohio University. I've personally been changed by the program. I've seen many young women and men be changed by the program. And so what this is again, it's evidence-based, and it talks about, these societal pressures and, how do we confront them? How do we challenge these ideals? How do we respond to, short, comments that we hear from our friends and family that, is harmful to our ideals, to, um, our self-beliefs, our self-esteem. So how do we deal with that? It's a really great program. We have a couple interventions running right now. We will likely have some more in November open up, and we will definitely have some again in the spring. So if you'd like some more information on the Body Project, you can click this link here, or just look up the Body Project at Ohio University, or email oubodyproject@ohio.edu. And then another opportunity is the Women's Center at Ohio University. So back in September, they did a Love Your Body Week. And so September 8th through 11th, they had a lot of resources available, a lot of content, and that's actually all still available on their site. So if you go to Love Yourself Week with the Women's Center at Ohio University, you can find all of those resources there. And they still have some upcoming events for later in this semester, as well as in the spring semester, that you can check out on their calendar as well. So the biggest takeaway here that I want us to focus on, your journey to accept your body amidst the many changes and stages it will inevitably go through is completely up to you, right? It's your body, it's your choice. So no one can tell you how to love your body, or no one can tell you to what degree you should love your body. Whatever makes you feel confident and what supports the longevity of your physical and mental health is what's best for you. So if that means going to the gym, great. If that means, not going to the gym, maybe working at home, great. If that means, one night you need to get a pizza for your mental health, great. Whatever works for you, makes you feel confident, and does support the longevity of your physical and mental health. So kind of like I alluded to, this may not look the same for you year to year, month to month, or even day to day. So one day you could be like, you know what? I feel confident to go to the gym right now. That's going to support my physical health and my mental health, and that's what I want to do. And the next day, that may not be the case. The next day, you may want to, stay in bed, maybe watch Netflix. Maybe that's what's going to support your mental health that day, and make you feel good about yourself. So it's not the same every day, even for ourselves, right? It's going to look different person to person, and then, year to year, month to month, day to day. And it's important to note that it may be impossible to avoid all criticisms and negative media portrayals of societal beauty standards, but we stand up to it, right? So when we take in those negative perceptions, when we take in those negative words and misconstrued ideas of what isn't beautiful, okay, we can absorb it, but we can stand up to it, right? We can acknowledge that exists, and figure out what they want us, what it's trying to make us feel like. And what we do with that is up to us, honestly. However, in talking about being resilient, it's not expected of you to be resilient in the face of criticism and negativity all the time. Sometimes it's going to get to you, and that doesn't mean that you're weak or you're weak-minded. It doesn't mean that, you're failing in your pursuit of body acceptance and body positivity. That's not true at all. Negativity and criticism, you can't be expected to be resilient against it at all times. So don't be too hard on yourself. You're going to have great days. You're going to have off days. And then finally, this is really important. Remember that as you challenge the perceptions you have about your own body, you must also challenge the perceptions you have about others and their bodies, right? So, we can be really building our confidence in ourselves and being like, wow, I love myself today, but then we can still look at someone and judge them based on the way that they look. And, maybe it's a part of human nature, but it's something that we have to continually challenge, right? And challenge our judgments and our stereotypes against people based on how they look, whether that's shape, size, race, gender, whatever it may be, ability. We have to challenge those perceptions just as much as we challenge our own perceptions about ourselves. So, the body positivity movement, it's not just about changing who we are internally and how we view ourselves. It's also about changing what is our outlook on others, right? So I think that's a really important takeaway as well. So that is all. I know this was a little bit more heavy. A lot of it is more opinion based on my personal and professional experience. However, if you disagree with me, that is fine. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to kind of discuss anything with me that you want to challenge, or that you feel like should be included in the conversation, please feel free to reach out to me at my Ohio email listed here. Again, my name is Rachel Mangold. I really appreciate if you listened in on this one, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks.